It's time once again to come aboard the patrol train. Welcome to Big Mac Dance School. I'm Daniel and this is my look through the pages of issue 11 of Combat Patrol magazine. Right off the bat, let's address the Timothy Oliphant in the room. The paints you get with this issue will set you back £5.50 if you're getting them direct from Games Workshop. Meaning you're going to be £4.49 better off if you do that rather than getting the magazine. But is there any added value between the covers? Let's find out together. Across the first 4 pages you'll find instructions on how to apply our new paints to your Space Marines. After the Infernus Marines we move on to our captain, and then the Librarian will receive 1 issue back. With 6 colours now in play, you can see those Ultramarines are really starting to pop. The Cult Mechanicus is the focus of our lore section this week, and the picture we're presented with depicts an exploratory force of Adeptus Mechanicus warriors on a quest for knowledge. Technology in the far future is not shared freely, but is instead a closely guarded secret shrouded in mystery and ritual. The Cult Mechanicus is a faith within the Imperium, and whilst they still see the Emperor as divine, they have a culture all of their own. They regard machines above all else and reject the weakness of the flesh, replacing limbs with mechanical upgrades, as you can see in the image. The faith of the Cult Mechanicus is devoted to the machine god, aka the Omnissiah. Most followers of the cult regard the Emperor and the Omnissiah to be the same being, or at least that the Emperor is a vessel of the machine god's will. In the picture behind me we can see the activation of a Space Marine Dreadnought, which is a difficult and sacred ritual carried out by many tech priests. Bioweaponry. The next couple of pages shows us just a few of the weapon options available to the Tyranids, which are, as we previously discussed, also specifically adapted symbiotic organisms that work in concert with their carrier beasts. Flesh borers are the most common weapons carried by Tyranids. They fire hard-shelled, flesh-eating beetles that burrow furiously upon contact with their targets. Heavy venom cannons are wielded by some of the larger life forms and fire crystals of solidified acid at enormous speed that are particularly effective against armoured targets such as tanks. Scything talons, rending claws and bone swords are 3 of the most common melee weapons used by the various Tyranids on the battlefield, and each are brutal in their own right. Into the Dark is our short story this week, which sees a couple of Terminators exploring the depths of an infested starship. Tyranids often infest fallen starships. Many a salvage crew has fallen prey to a hidden terror lurking in a dark corner. It's up to elite troops like Terminators to clear Imperial vessels of such infestations, so the ships can return to service. This story tells the tale of one such squad. On the next page we find phases, starting with the command phase. This happens at the start of each player turn and is where you survey the battlefield and make plans for the rest of your turn. You also score objectives in the command phase. Over the page we are met with a turn breakdown. The player turn unfolds as follows: command phase, movement phase, shooting phase, charge phase, and finally fight phase. This issue includes a number of objective markers, used to represent valuable items or targets on the battlefield, such as ammo dumps or even territory. Players fight to take control of these objectives, moving within 3 inches of it to contest it. The picture diagram at the top of the next page talks you through the OC or Objective Control stat on your unit profile and how that helps you work out who's controlling an objective when both players have units contesting it. Below this we're advised on how to keep track of victory points. We can do this in the command phase. It's simple enough to draw a rough table like the one shown, but this magazine also includes some handy victory point markers if you want to look slightly more fancy. Scenario 7, Objective Secured, is a chance to practice the rules we've just read about in the previous pages. The Tyranid and Space Marine forces will fight over 3 objectives, scoring victory points in the following ways: 5 victory points for controlling 1 objective, 5 for controlling 2 objectives, and 5 for controlling more than your opponent. Again, these points are scored in the command phase and added to a running total as the battle continues. Over the page, the Space Marine turn is broken down phase by phase, with a picture diagram on the following page that spells things out further. Following that, we get similar treatment for Tyranids, a phase breakdown and a picture diagram focusing on movement. The usual narrative spin can be found on the next page, followed by the aforementioned markers and tokens on the inside back cover. Closing to the back cover, we get a reminder that the next 2 issues contain 5 Space Marine Terminators and a Teleport Homer. So join me next time to find out how the sprues are broken up across the 2 issues and what's in the pages of issue 12. Until then, I'll see you on the battlefield.